Everybody, this is Ask Me Anything About Politics. So, if you got any questions about politics, just let me know in the chat, and I will do my best to give you a great answer. I know that politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it. I know it can feel like trying to learn a new language. So, that is what this show is here for, where you can ask all of your questions about politics, and there's no judgments, there's no roasting, there's no debating. This is not a fight show. This is not a show for people to yell at each other. This is not a show for people to call each other stupid or uninformed or gullible or libtards or fascists or whatever. This is just good faith answers to all of your good faith questions about politics. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you are a Republican. Further to the left than me, further to the right than me. I do not care. If you got a good faith question, then I've got a good faith answer to give you in response. So yeah, there's no arguing or fighting that happens here. Sometimes I get a little spicy if people are spicy at me, but I try just to answer questions and as as sincere and objectively as I possibly can. I know politics is really complicated these days. I know it's difficult to figure out what is accurate information and what is bunk, and there's too much out there. There's a lot of noise out there, and everybody's got a take. So this is a place where you can you know can converse with others and try to get a handle on what is actually going on in our government and in our country, because it's difficult to parse these days. It is difficult to know what sources can be trusted. And maybe you're the kind of person who's like, well, the place where I live, I can't really ask certain questions because people will think I'm a libtard cuck. Or maybe you're like, hey, the place I live, I can't ask certain questions or people will think I'm some sort of MAGA fascist. Well, you don't have to worry about any of those judgments happening here. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you didn't vote. If you got questions about politics, then I am here to answer those questions for you. So just throw your questions in the comments, in the chats, and I will get to it and try to give you as best of an answer as I can muster. So yeah, just throw your questions in the chat, and we can get started, because I know that politics is really intimidating if you don't know too much about it. It can be like trying to learn a new language, trying to get up to speed with what everybody already knows. And sometimes you can worry like, oh, does everybody already know this stuff? And will I seem like an idiot if I ask this? And in the past, I have been made to feel foolish for not knowing certain things about politics, and I did not care for the way that that felt, and so I do not make fun of anybody here in the live stream for not knowing things or for asking certain questions or anything like that. It is just good faith answers to all of your good faith questions. So yeah, once you got a question, throw it in the comments, and I will do my best to give you a good answer. Scrawny Ronnie says it's always okay to go, I don't know much about that, actually. 100%, Scrawny Ronnie. It is 100% not embarrassing at all to admit that you do not know something. Most human beings do not know everything. So, there is no judgments here or debates. Zhang says, what do you think about the possible rule of the proletariat? I mean, ideally, there would only be rule by the proletariat, by the common everyday working man. But that is that is possible in the world of the American government, where anybody can run for any office, and there's no there's no necessity of land ownership or a certain net value to run for things. Peyosis says, is President Donald Trump, has he passed away? I do not believe so. I think he's actually supposed to be giving a live press conference right now or some shit like that. Let's see here, but it can't happen soon enough for my tastes. Scrawny Ronnie says, is there anything you're particularly worried about with this presidency? I mean, it'd be shorter to tell you the things that I'm not worried about. But yeah, I am extremely concerned about ICE acting like Trump's personal Gestapo, getting rid of people's due process, deporting people without any due process, people that have done nothing fucking wrong, people who are here legally, unconstitutionally detaining people who are veterans who served this country just because why? Because they're brown looking? It's fucking unbelievable, man. The ramifications of us canceling all of this, all these research funds, like millions or billions of dollars in research grants have been canceled or put on hold. And so just boatloads of scientific, medical, technological research is just in the fucking garbage now. and we are going to be severely behind in technological and medical breakthroughs for other countries. It's fucking, yeah, it's terrifying. The way that the Republican Party seems to be trying to make it so that elections don't count anymore and they can just solidify a more dictatorial fascist sort of regime in America, like that's really worrisome. But yeah, there's no end to the list of things that I am worried about in a Trump administration. Mantis says, "Is Trump passed?" I don't believe so. I haven't seen any official reporting that he has. Cameron Hodge says, "Are you in favor of using the military in space, such as the Golden Dome?" Where the military can intercept incoming projectiles, I think that is a positive. I would hope that the military could stay out of space for as long as humanly possible. Like, we already have enough conflict down here. Maybe space can be a place where people don't fight each other. That seems nice. Honky Devil says because he wants voter ID. Well, voter ID, Honky Devil, has been proven to be a voter suppression tactic. It is completely unnecessary. There's almost no voter fraud that happens in this country, and the kind that happens would not be stopped with voter ID. If you would like me to connect the dots for you as to why it is just voter suppression and not necessary, I'll happily do that for you, Honky Devil. But if I'm being sincere, I don't think you actually care. Carmine says, "New background. Who this?" Yeah, I decided to do a little bit of an update. See what everybody in the internet thought about it. James says, "Did you hear that someone filmed someone throwing a black trash bag outside the White House?" Yeah. What the fuck was that, man? That's really curious. What the fuck are you doing throwing shit out of the window of the White House? Dan Blackwood, the Brenner Center for Progress, did a comprehensive study on voter fraud and how rare it is. Oh, yeah, that's a good thing to check out as well. All right, everybody, welcome to the live stream. My name is Jared. I'm here to answer all your questions about politics without any kind of judgment or roasting or debating. This is not one of those shows where people yell at each other or call each other stupid or try to own each other. It is just good faith answers to all of your good faith questions. Dumpster Royalty says, "Do you feel Trump buying 100 million in bonds and trying to force the interest rates down bad?" Yes, 100%. It is a violation of the separation of powers. It is the president having a personal financial interest in the success of the American economy. It is, the conflicts of interest are multitudinous, and so yeah, it is a bad thing. Scrawny Ronnie says, "What do you think the path forward for the Democrats should be personally?" Cameron Hodge says, "What was Trump's 2 p.m. announcement?" I don't know. Maybe it's still going on. Maybe it's delayed somewhat, but I tried to find up-to-date information on it, Cameron, and yeah, the only thing that I saw was that it was going to have something to do with the Department of Defense. Potentially, it is just going to be him declaring that the Department of Defense's new name is going to be the Department of War. Good job. We did it, everybody. Every problem in this country solved. Scrawny Ronnie, I think that the party would be well served to start focusing their efforts towards the younger, more progressive wing of the party. People like your AOC's and your Maxwell Frost's and your Jasmine Crockett's. I think that's the future of the party. And I think the more old gerontocracy wing is kind of dragging the party down. I don't mind having a young person in office who has more centrist beliefs, but we gotta have some kind of change happening in the party, and I'm not mad about it. But yeah, I'm also like, whatever the Democratic Party wants to do is completely fine with me. They're still the better of the two options, and until we can unelect every single Republican, I'm not going to be depressed about whether the Democrat I'm voting for is the kind that I would really like or the kind that I would just prefer over the worst option. James says, "Would you recommend for us immigrants to move away now?" That's a massive question for you and your family. It has to do with what your life situation is. DK says, "Do you think the Galactic Senate had too much influence over the Jedi Council?" Potentially. I'm mainly focused on American politics. Yeah, let's see here. Cameron Hodge says, "Should we be concerned about Elon's third party with his funding in 2028?" I'm not too concerned about that. Elon is a child whose focus is easily distractible like a goldfish. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that he's going to continue to support right-wing candidates. So I don't believe that the great primary bludgeoning that the Republican Party was supposed to have, and every MAGA Republican is replaced by an Elon Republican. I think that's probably unlikely to happen. Let's see here. Kyle says, "Is Jar Jar a Sith Lord?" I could be convinced. Oh my goodness, my friend. Should I invite Under the Desk News to co-host? I don't know her that well. That's awfully presumptuous, I think. 69 Darth says, "Please, I'm begging, get a job." That's funny because my job is actually fending off your mom when she begs for my cock. Joni Calder says, "How do you think Trump will handle the meeting between Putin and the others that he wasn't invited to?" Poorly. I think he's gonna say a bunch of really stupid shit on the internet, and then he's gonna threaten sanctions to a bunch of countries, and but then ultimately, most likely, no thing that will change will actually happen. Alrighty, DK says, "Where do I apply for the job of rejecting that dude's mom?" It's sort of a freelance position. James says, "What do you think will happen with the humanitarian flotilla going to Gaza?" The same thing that happened with the last one. The Israeli Navy will intercept it and turn it around, and they'll be arrested and deported. I don't believe that they are probably going to murder Greta Thunberg. That's a little too high profile for them. They prefer, you know, less notable, uh, you know, citizens and peaceful citizens and reporters and shit like that. Lucas Budikowski says, "Does nothing truly ever happen?" No, lots of things happen, Lucas. Opposite. Let's see here. I don't know what chorus money means. I think maybe you mean like chorus monkey or something. Feels like you're being insulting, Heath. Not really sure what your vibe is. Okay. Yeah, no, that's just the tool that I use to stream to multiple channels. Carmine. All right, light on. Oh, chorus money. Right, the chorus money thing. No, I have not accepted any money from any other organizations in order to put out better content, but I wouldn't say no to getting some money from Chorus. It seems like a pretty sweet gig. Yeah, and Heath, are you concerned about all the billionaires that are funding the right wing social media content creators, Heath? Or is that part of your calculus at all, Heath? Just out of curiosity, how do you feel about those guys? Welcome everybody to the live stream. We are late on comments and questions today. Cameron Hodge, opinion on Charlie Kirk. He's a fucking liar. Charlie Kirk is a liar. He is not a debate genius. He lies and he makes shit up. And then when you call out his lies, he comes back with more lies to defeat the truth that you just said. And there's no consequences. There are literally no consequences to all the lies that he has been caught in. So I don't know what the fucking problem with everybody is, where if somebody tells 1,000 fucking lies to make their point, like maybe they are an untrustworthy source of information, but what the fuck do I know, I guess. Let's see here. Carmine says, "Was that the Democrat dark money thing that came out?" Yeah, everything that I have read about that makes it seem like that was kind of a hit job by sort of a notorious troll uh, reporter, and so yeah, I'm not too pressed about it. I do think that it's fucking hilarious considering the scope and scale of billionaire money going to right wing creators, but now there's going to be this image of left wing creators being the product of dark money, even though it is happening. It's been happening so much longer and on such a larger scale on the right than it is happening anywhere on the left. Fogworld Production says Jared has the talent to make so much money as a grifter and he chooses not to. Yeah, accurate. Mike MSU Lee says, "What do you think about NYC leaning socialist commies?" So I guess, Mike, I would be concerned about what your definition of a socialist or a communist is. Because most people just use those words to mean like it's bad, but there's much more nuanced things that we can get out of those words than just that, depending on who you talk to. I think that Mamdani is a great candidate, and I'm excited to see what he does. I am also hopeful that everybody who is watching Mamdani and his campaign and potentially his his tenure as mayor of New York will note that the billionaire class is going to do everything they can to torpedo him, and so that we need to be watching that fellow's career with grace, because when the billionaire class comes after you, it is impossible to stay unsinged. Let's see here. Mike says, ask Venezuela with their socialism. So Venezuela isn't actually socialist. Venezuela is a authoritarian kleptocracy, meaning there is a small group of people who have all the money and power, when in a real socialist country, there is power shared throughout the proletariat. Mike, are you here in good faith? Are you just trying to troll, or would you like to actually engage in politics, my guy? Buffalo says, what is your take on the Venezuela situation? It is wildly fucking concerning that the president is sending warships to a country that we are not at war with or having any sort of, outstanding hot or cold conflict with. Like, it is purely escalatory and meant to intimidate. It is fucking bananas. Like, I am not going to go to bat for the government of Venezuela. Like, I'm not saying that they're doing anything necessarily good or bad down there, but you shouldn't just be trying to start wars. I thought, wasn't he supposed to be not starting wars, Donald Trump? Wasn't that his whole fucking appeal? Was that? Jesus fucking Christ, man. Buffalo says, do you think it over oil? Maybe. I haven't heard that take yet, Buffalo, but I'll look into it. Ape God 148 says, what's up with all the rumors saying he died? Too bad it's only rumors. I mean, he's been looking real rough for a long time because of how old and unhealthy he is, with weird bruises on his hands and massively swollen ankles. And yeah, so I guess people were just kind of, what do you call it? They were just kind of expanding and assuming based on that. And I guess he hadn't been seen for a couple of days. So, people love a rumor. People love a hopeful rumor. You don't usually get so many hopeful rumors. Mike, MSU Lee says, so you lean left. Yes, 100%. I am a Democrat. I am a progressive. That is my political identity. And I believe it should be everybody's political identity. Ape God, I already did that one. All right, everybody. Great start to the live stream so far. Any questions that you have about politics, just put them in the chat. I know politics can be really weird right now. It can be very confusing to find out what's going on. And this could be a place for you to ask all your questions and get anything cleared up that you might not know, like if it's accurate information or not. There's no fighting here. There's no roasting. There's no debating. This is not one of those shows where I call people up and then we just yell at each other and call each other stupid and try to own each other. This is not that. I'm happy to engage with people who are on the left or people who are on the right, people who vote or don't vote, people who vote Democrat or Republican. As long as you are here in good faith and asking questions in good faith, then you will get a good faith answer in response. Chance says, curious your thoughts on alternative fuels. Electric and petroleum seem to have a lot of downsides. I mean, electric, electric is the sort of like the product of the fuel. So I'm not really sure what you mean by alternative fuels if you're not including electric in there. Right now we are on the cusp of a green energy revolution that is being stymied by a group of very selfish billionaire and billionaire associated Republican politicians who want to continue making money off of fossil fuels, because they own a lot of coal mines or oil fields or fucking whatever. And so all of us are suffering because of that greed. All of us are paying way more for our electricity than we need to be. And we are all suffering from the consequences of global warming and air pollution. And we're being drowned in debt from trying to maintain these stupid fucking cars that have a million fucking moving parts and explosions in them. When instead we could just have electric cars that are like 40 parts each, something like that, Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. It's so unbelievably stupid. We could have essentially free energy, and we have the technology. It is cheaper than what is currently happening, but no, we're going to spend extra money to have a worse kind of electricity because that's what the billionaires want, and that's what the Republicans want, and the Republicans are in charge. So that is what's going to happen right now. So fucking stupid. All right. AgroLight says if the court dissolves the NLRB, who should unions kill first? Well, I don't condone any kind of violence, whether it is against human beings or property, anything of the like. There. But yeah, I believe that the union should go hard with their strikes and protests, and it is incumbent on us, the citizenry, to start exercising our power, because the judiciary and Congress are just letting Trump do whatever the fuck he wants, regardless of how many people get hurt or how unconstitutional or illegal it is. So we have to do the work, unfortunately. Not enough people voted for Democrats, so now we have to do the work. Right. Cole Vickery says libertarian chances, probably not good. I'm glad that they don't have a shot, because I don't think it's a great philosophy, libertarian. Kasha says, is that why electric cars are so expensive? I know Chinese models are so inexpensive. I mean, I couldn't put my finger on the reason why electric cars are expensive here in America. They seem to be way cheaper in China. They seem to be way better in China, like 5 minutes to charge your battery, as opposed to needing to leave it like plugged in all night at your house or some shit like that. Longer range, less expensive, seems way better. But yeah, I think if anything is pushing the cost up for electric cars, it's the thing that is pushing the cost up for everything, which is stupid fucking Trump administration policies, like deporting everybody who looks even a little bit brown, or tariffing every single thing that comes into this country. It's just raising prices for everything for ordinary working class Americans, Right. Robert WN says, you are out of touch with reality. That's not a question, Robert. If you want to ask a question, you can stay. If not, then you can get out of here. Heath Sheehan says, please start talking about who would be a good future president for the Democrats. Heath, I never talk about wish casting for 28. I'm trying to get people focused on the midterms in 2026. People should be voting Democrat up and down the ticket in 2026. We need to vote out every Republican that is letting this fucking madness happen. Robert WN says, up yours, dude. All right, well, that is not a question, Robert, so see you later. Alrighty, let's see here. DK says, my car is powered by like 300 hamsters running on wheels. That's pretty green technology. James says, Trump is negotiating where to get buried so he avoids paying taxes. That's pretty funny. Alrighty. Okay. Chance says, not trying to sound ignorant, but is it bad that I love my V8 truck? It genuinely makes me happy. No, Chance, 100%. There's a reason why certain things are popular, and it can be for lots of reasons. Like they're fun, they make you feel powerful. Cars are essentially like a massive exoskeleton that we all get to fucking run around in and control. And it is wild that we do that, because it's extremely unsafe. But it is the way that the world works right now. And I remember being 16 years old and getting my driver's license and feeling so much more powerful and capable of doing things. So it's like 100%. I get it. I get car people. I get gun people. I get it. But how about we just have a better version of that? Where most everybody has an electric car, so our air can be cleaner and shit like that. But aficionados like yourself get to keep your V8 engine. Go for it, my guy. Cade says, what's your stance on foreign influence in our elections? I'm against it, Cade. Let's see here. MAGA versus says, that is what it means to be an American. We are sprawled and cars are integral. Yeah, well, that's the system we have right now, but it doesn't have to be the system going forwards. DK says, I think the move to electric vehicles is extremely misguided. DK, I believe that the best system would be a better funded and more integrated public transit system with more buses and trains and metros and undergrounds, etc. But at the moment, we are kind of like in an incremental war towards public, transportation funding and shit like that. So now the American version of solving that problem is just to get everybody to switch to electric cars, which, is better in some senses. And, there's a couple of downsides, of course, but I would still much rather be stuck in traffic behind a whole bunch of electric cars not spewing fucking exhaust in my face than, you know, a bunch of fucking Hummers and shit like that. Alrighty. DK says all the benefits and you don't need to build crazy infrastructure to support them. Hybrids are where it's at. Oh, I don't know, DK. Like, the technology is advancing so quickly with batteries and electric cars. Like, I don't imagine that we are going to need, you know, if we let the market decide, we are not going to need gasoline pump stations, you know, anywhere near as prevalent as they are right now. Yeah, you know, yeah, I think the electric, potentially like swappable batteries too in electric cars would be cool as well. Let's see here. DK says, yeah, but you still got to burn fossil fuels to power your batteries. No, not necessarily. We can set up a whole bunch of fucking solar panels and wind farms and hydroelectric. And there are scientists right now who are building a large scale nuclear fusion energy plant. And if it is successful, it will be a source of limitless free energy forever. So, you know, yeah, it is unnecessary to continue burning fossil fuels. Right, DK says, so whether you do that from your tank or a power plant does it, what's the difference? There is a big difference, DK, because again, you don't need to burn fossil fuels to get electricity, but also, you know, if you are burning it in a central location that people do not live near, it is better than everybody, you know, distributing a tiny bit of pollution out of their cars every fucking square inch of the country. Sunshine Wildflower says, "Do you know what happened to the high-speed rail system in California?" So I haven't done a ton of digging into that, Sunshine, but I did read Ezra Klein's book Abundance, which I have some problems with, but there's some really good information in there as well. Ezra Klein says some absolutely fucking bananas, batshit crazy stuff in there that are, you know, well intentioned, I think, but are extremely loaded. And yeah, that's a real fucking thing. But anyways, about high speed rail, I think that what happened was a combination of factors. I think it was torpedoed by billionaires who did not want high speed rail to function. I think it was torpedoed by Elon Musk specifically, promising a hyperloop just so that he could kill high speed rail. I think it had to do with California being a very heavily regulated state where we try to make sure when we build things that it is environmentally friendly and we are supporting diverse, you know, companies and workers and shit like that. And we are not just, you know, sending money hand over fist to massive corporations and shit like that. But I think the main thing is that doing shit is hard. And this is the reason why Democrats get judged so unfairly harshly, is because they try to do things and they try to fix things, and doing things and fixing things is hard. You know? All right. DK says electric cars don't perform in Midwest winters. I just think there is a happy medium we got to find. You can't run fully electric cars in cold climates, so you need a combustion engine. Yeah, DK, we're talking about the world as it is right now. I am not confident that there will not be electric cars in the near future that handle cold climates well. I am fine with, you know, using hybrid cars to get us to that place, but I think it's a little short-sighted to assume that the technology that we have available today is the technology that will always be available. Things are happening so fast every single fucking day. Less so here in America because the Trump administration has defunded all fucking scientific research, both technological and medical. So we're fucked, but, you know, regardless. All right, Fogawar Productions. Utah's logistical network to California is going to run on EVs in our brutally cold winters. Oh, how about that? That's pretty interesting. Scott Clower. A lot of that federal money came from Florida. Rick Scott killed high-speed rail here. Wow, what a piece of shit. Fuck Rick Scott, man. Can't say that enough. User a bunch of numbers. Says anything on the White House press conference? I have been live streaming since it's supposedly started, but yeah, I haven't seen any news. Black Phillips says, if the pendulum swings the opposite, do you think the dark left will be volatile or is it parody? I do not believe that the dark left will be volatile. I haven't heard about this phrase, the dark left. It's pretty funny. But yeah, all that people on the left want is for all of our needs to be met and to not have billionaires constantly fucking stomping on our necks and force feeding us pollution from their factories, and accountability, and and fairness and justice. And I do not believe that there's going to be like a blue MAGA dictatorial fascist, socialist kind of government that comes out of electing more Democrats, because there's still plenty of Democrats who are very, centrist. It's a very reasonable party from everything that I've seen. Right. Apple user says, IQ is a bell curve, right? I mean, less and less so, but I guess I kind of know what you're talking about. Dank Tonio says, I'm a Trump insider. I'm skeptical that is accurate. Amaslav says, nice hair. Thank you, Amaslav. I appreciate you. Period says, is government funding for schools, hospitals ruined from the big bill? It is, period. It is either cut or severely decreased. And so there are a bunch of agencies that are underfunded, overwhelmed, understaffed, and it is only getting worse with every day that goes by in this stupid fucking Trump administration. Alrighty. Let's see here. NC Wildflower says, very suspect they haven't started the press conference yet. It's weird, man. It is fucking weird. Period says, hospitals near me have been cutting costs. Yeah, there's going to be hospital closures in rural areas, and there are already drug treatment centers that have been closed, and clinics that are closing. It's, everything that Democrats said was going to happen is fucking happening. So, yeah, et cetera, we are fucked. Good Guy 53 says, Trump has liberals by the short hairs. Good Guy, Trump has everybody by the short hairs. He is fucking everybody, regardless of if they did not vote for him or if they did vote for him. Everybody's getting fucked by this guy, including you and all the people that you care about. If you are not feeling negative effects from the Trump administration, Good Guy, just wait. It's going to happen soon. Shay Carell says, thoughts on the summit meeting in China? I mean, the world is advancing without America now. It's all the largest nations are now working together to cut America out of the economy and global decisions. So congratulations, Trump. We are more isolated, weaker, slower progress, higher costs, lower employment. We're fucked. Let's see here. Period says, I'm a Democrat, but I respect everyone, even Republicans. I respect every voter, period. But I have zero respect for Republican talking heads and politicians. Like, they are full of shit. They are con artists. They are hurting people. Yeah, no trust. Applesauce user says, yeah, they let in 25 million immigrants and it adversely affected services. Who could predict that? Apple user, it is not immigrants that has affected those services. It is the massive funding cuts that Donald Trump and Elon Musk did on those services. I think it is hilarious that you are trying to blame it on immigrants, which what is it? Did Donald Trump save the country because he kicked all the immigrants out, or are the immigrants still here and running up costs for social services? Apple user, it seems like maybe you're trying to argue the worst of both worlds, that it is both immigrants' problem and Donald Trump solved the problem. So what are we talking about here, my guy? Cause 808 says, what do you think about Trump's federal crime crackdown? It's not a real federal crime crackdown. It is just authoritarian bullshit. What he is doing is not bringing down crime at all. It is not. It is hurting businesses. People are scared to leave their houses because the fucking military is there with active assault weapons and shit like that. Right. South Fork Greg says, are you worried about Trump's announcement at 2 p.m. today? Nah, not particularly. I did a little digging into it, and apparently it has to do with him changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, which is really fucking stupid. Apple user says, really, increased service population with the same service provider population doesn't affect it? No, Apple user, because they were maintaining until Trump and Elon Musk decimated all of their budgets. Apple user, just to make sure that we're in the same reality here. You are aware that Doge and Donald Trump and the Big Beautiful Bill have like massively cut spending to federal organizations, right? And social services. Like, you are aware of that, Apple user? Just want to make sure we're living in the same reality here. Let's see here. Everyone's watching the boring press conference. Colorado to Alabama. That's pretty funny. Mimi says he announced moving NASA to Alabama. Sweet. Right. Yeah. Well, I guess he's still alive. Cuz says thoughts on burning Israeli flag. I mean, burning flags is protected First Amendment speech. I don't care if you want to burn a flag. It's up to you. You know, maybe I'll think you're stupid if you, depending on which flags you burn. But yeah, you know, go do express yourself however you would like, so long as you are not impeding on the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of your fellow Americans. James says, why don't Americans know all the ways the USA has intervened and robbed Central and South American countries? It's not really focused on in our history classes. It is not focused in the culture because the billionaire class wants us to believe that those countries are just worse and that they just imploded by themselves because they were too socialist or communist or shit like that. Too many unions, they said, and that's the reason why South America is the way it is. Apple user says cut political regulation populations on top of services. Yeah, Apple user, I know exactly what you're doing here, or rather, I should say, you're not here anymore. Right. Cuz says, how tall are you? I am 5'8". Flag of War Productions says, my grandfather was a CIA agent who gallivanted down to Latin America during the 70s and 80s. Ooh, I'm sure he had some fucking stories to tell. Food Fight Co. says, why didn't the Palestinians build bomb shelters with the money they used for tunnels? I don't know. Food Fight Co. I'm sure that they have a lot of problems with Israel constantly annexing their territory, but hindsight is 2020 there. I think it is weird that you would have more of a problem with the way that the Palestinians spent their money than the fact that Israel is spending American money to bomb hospitals with reporters and children in them. Food fights. Cuz 808 says, how would Mondani's policies do for New York? I'm pretty sure they would be positive. Let's see here. Uncle Hippie says, can you talk about the idea of soft secession? So yeah, the idea behind soft secession is basically that every blue state would try their best through whatever legal means necessary to de-invest from the greater population of America, and each state would then be much more insular. We would send less of our tax dollars to the federal government, and we would potentially pay more for services that are just available for statewide citizens. You know, it's a pretty complicated issue as far as like what the federal government would let those states get away with. Is it possible that funding that blue states get from the federal government is larger than the money that blue states gain by not sending money to the federal government? It's an open question. It'll obviously, there'll be like a massive Supreme Court fight around whatever these states decide to do. And, you know, just based on the way that the Supreme Court has been acting for the past 10 years, it will most likely fall into the Republicans' lap because they are part and parcel a member of the MAGA Republican Party, the Supreme Court, even though it is not supposed to be. James says, feels like a huge problem with Americans is that they have no idea how the government is supposed to work. I agree. It's fucking education. Minion Lord says, thoughts on FEMA. It is being wildly defunded by the Trump administration going into hurricane season. So good luck, everybody out there. Good luck, everybody who lives in an area where there are unprecedented natural disasters thanks to climate change. Now the government is going to be able to help you even less with surviving that, you know. All right. Minion Lord says, I have an emergency management degree. All the female defunding will be so bad. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Minion Lord. Double O. Alrighty. Welcome, everybody, to the live stream. My name is Jared. I'm here to answer all your questions about politics. So if you got any questions, throw them in the chat. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to roast. I'm not here to debate. I am just here to answer good faith questions. This is a no roasting, no fighting zone. Alrighty. You know, and you don't have to worry about any kind of judgments here. You can ask a question without me going, oh my god, only a cuck would ask that question, or only a fascist would ask that question, you know, stuff like that. Thank you, Daniel D, but I'm definitely never going to be doing that. Fogmore Production says, how would you solve the national debts? I would continue with Bidenomics, which was taxing the rich, breaking up massive corporations into smaller corporations, breaking up monopolies, and funding the American population from the bottom up. We need more money in poorer communities and You know, when we create a larger population of fiscally stable Americans, then we increase the customer base for every business that then wants to open in America. And the system that we have now, where everything is owned by a small group of people and 99% of Americans are struggling to survive, it puts a strain on the economy because there aren't as many people buying as many things. Alrighty. Uncle Hippie says, do you think Comet will bypass Earth after they see Trump speak today? Oh, God, please be fucking aliens. Please save us, aliens. I don't even care if you're not even great aliens. Just, it has to be better than what's currently going on. Daniel D says, regulate and increase requirements for corporations in buying or acquiring other companies. Would that work? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the entire problem with monopolization since the Reagan administration is that we have allowed it to happen so recklessly and consistently. You know, like there are so many wild issues in our economy that the government has just allowed to happen because it would be too hard to not let it happen. Like pyramid schemes, like multi-level marketing schemes, like are still technically legal because they found a loophole, but it is a massive drain on the economy. It's essentially fraud. Yeah, man. It's a full fucking thing, my guy. All right. So yeah, let's fucking keep monopolization from happening. Let's break up some monopolies that already exist. Alrighty, Average Joe PG, great to see you. I've got a couple of comments and a question regarding the fusion reactor. I've seen Spider-Man 2, okay, 2. Regarding abundance, the biggest flaw is that Klein insinuates removing regulations is a nationwide solution. Completely agree with that. 3, can you remind Texas listeners that you have to be registered 60 to 90 days before the election? And if they don't vote every 2 years, they kick you off. Yes, anybody who's watching from Texas, remember that you need to be registered 60 to 90 days before the election. So get on that, everybody that lives in Texas. Average Joe, don't forget to respond to my message on the Discord channel, my guy. James says, do you think we'll end up like Hungary? We will if people like me and you don't do the work, James. But if we do the work, then we're going to be able to be a better country. The more people that do more work, of the kind where we unelect every Republican and intercept misinformation before it gets into people's noodles, the better our country will be. Alrighty, we're really light on watchers and questions today, so we might, end up wrapping things on the early side, everybody. All right, Carmine says they got these hurdles to register to vote, and they still believe in voter fraud. Yeah, Carmine. Good guy, 53 says, what is the purpose of the Democrats running a communist in New York City? So, good guy, the Democratic Party did not run a communist. Zohran Mamdani, who is a Democratic Socialist, who identifies as a Democratic Socialist, he ran in the primary and he won. The Democratic Party had nothing to do with it, and in fact, they are actively working against it. They are trying to not have Mamdani win the election for whatever reason. I think it's stupid that they're doing that, but regardless. And yeah, Mamdani had a lot of policy proposals that seemed very attractive to people, and so they voted for him. Good guy. Yeah, good guy. I gotta tell you, I don't know if you are aware of like a working definition of what communism is, my guy. Are you aware that every company that exists today in America that is employee owned is essentially communist? Were you aware of that? Good guy 53? Good guy 53 says also they didn't let Joe Biden run. No, they pressured Joe Biden to drop out because he was going to lose massively. But they didn't stop. Nobody could have stopped Joe Biden from running. He had the nomination. It was his decision to make. All right, good guy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for the comments and the questions and the gifts and the likes and the shares. Good guy says, "Oh yeah, that was Joe's decision all the way. They pressured him." Good guy, but again, I don't know this idea. I know what you're doing here. Good guy, like you're just trying to fight, and I'm not going to do that. So, if you want to ask a question, I'll answer it, but I am not going to engage with your rage baiting nonsense. All right, everybody, get your last questions in. He didn't even know where he was at. What are you talking about pressuring? So you agree that he should have dropped out of the race. So what are you complaining about then? Costco says, what do you think about the ACP? What do you mean by the ACP? J4 says, what does the government owning IBM actually mean for an American company? It means that any company besides IBM in that space is going to have a harder time because the American government has essentially partnered with a private corporation to give them an unfair advantage. It is not the free markets. It is not capitalism. It is fucking crony socialism, basically. Good Guy 53 says, hell yeah, I agree. He should have never ran in the first place. I mean, he was too old, but he ended up being a pretty good president, in my opinion. Costco says, the American Communist Party. I am unaware of any of the work that the American Communist Party is doing as far as like building up any kind of infrastructure or what policies they're advocating for. I do not believe in the fear mongering that goes on around the word communism or socialism. Like, it seems kind of stupid to me just to automatically associate those words with bad. So yeah, I don't automatically hate the American Communist Party, but I don't really know anything about them. Right. Sunshine Wildflower says, do you see the video of the garbage bags being thrown from the White House? Any ideas? No fucking clue. Costco says, debt forgiveness. I'm for debt forgiveness. Vago War says, what do you think would be the best way to fight effective polarization? I think we need to do the work of talking to people in real life, Vago War Productions. I think that is the only way that we do it. We need to spread the message that social media is purposefully getting us to fight amongst ourselves. We need to spread the message that the fights that you are getting into on social media are not real. They are not against real people. They are against bots. They are against paid content creators. And they are against people who are being distorted by the social media algorithms to be their worst self. So it is not real. It is fake. I guarantee you that person or that caricature of a person that you were talking to is not that way when you see them in real life. We have to make sure that people get that message and that the information they're seeing on social media is unreliable. And we need to make sure that they know what's actually going on in the world, you know? Alrighty, Good Guy says, why did he say he was going to run for the second term when he originally said he wouldn't? I don't know. Maybe he got pressured by one of his family members or something like that. Let's see here. James says, excuse me, Biden was a sensational president. If you know, you know. Yeah, I think he did a lot of great work, you know? Okay. Hefty bag full of whistleblower stuff. W. Page says, favorite existing socialist things in the U.S.? I'm going to go post office and public education. All right, everybody, get in your final questions while I do my outro. Thank you again for being here. Feel free to hit me up whenever you like. DMs are open. Discord is available. Link is in bio. You can email me through my website. The project of getting people more informed and engaged and activated does not stop when the live stream is over. So if there's anything that I can do to get you to be a more valuable part of the crusade, or if you just have questions about what's going on, my door is always open. So yeah, email me through my website, or join the Discord. The Discord is an excellent resource for ways to get involved, books to read, podcasts to listen to, and if you be a part of the community, we can all help each other. We can all be part of the same team. Regular streaming schedule is Monday through Friday, starting around 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And schedule can be found on my website as well. If you want to support the show financially, you can, but you don't have to. You can join my Patreon. Join for as little as $1 if you like. Link is in my bio. And you can also buy things from my store, which I don't have a lot of things on there, but you can. And you can also send gifts on TikTok and Twitch and YouTube and all the various places where you can find me. And all that stuff helps out a lot. So, click your likes and your shares and tell all your friends about how great my live stream is. And if you know people who are non-voters or people who are dipped out of politics and don't know what to make of things, send them my way. I'm trying to start a podcast where I do, long form, deep canvassing and do the work of trying to convince people to be part of the crusade. James says, need to know if you still do stand-up. I do, but I'm on sabbatical for the rest of the year. I am looking forward to talking to Steve about getting my schedule for 2026 because people have been asking. Carmine says, dream rotation. Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know. Honestly, it's just friends of mine who I would really like to be in the circle, Anyways, all right, slow day today, everybody, but I'm sure everybody's just still recovering from their long holiday weekend. I will see you guys tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Take care of each other. Bye bye.